Distance can be a major barrier to accessing quality healthcare on time. That's where Angel Flight East comes in. Welcome to Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East, a nonprofit dedicated to providing free flights for children and adults who need medical treatment far from home. We don't know how many people forego medical care because they don't have accessible transportation, and that's what this podcast is here to change. Join passionate AFE staff members Jess, Ames, and Maddy, Beck as they share real-life stories from people who have used AFE services to get the care they need when they need it.
Hey, frequent flyers, and welcome back with another episode of Takeoff Talk. You're here with me, Maddy.
And me, Jess.
And today we have new compassion flight passenger, Michael. Hi, Michael.
Hi.
Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about your situation and what got you into Angel Flight?
Oh boy. Hopefully I can keep it together. So
don't make us cry. We're not good at crying this late in the day.
I'm not crying. There's something in my eye. It's weird.
Yeah.
Team sweaty eyes over here. So don't worry. It's fine.
So
we cry all the time.
I have a 5-year-old daughter. Woo!
Oh no.
I know.
Already?
I guess I just think about like the path that we've taken and all that. And I got to be honest, if you knew me, you knew what I did for a living, you'd never expect me to be like this 3 sentences into a story. But I have a 5-year-old daughter. She was born with a laryngeal cleft. So what happened is her trachea didn't close all the way. So she had something that looked like this. So, and I don't know if this is just audio or it's a visual podcast, but basically she had like a V from her vocal cords down. And at first it was diagnosed as acid reflux. She was having issues like eating from a bottle. She would sound noisy. So she had a quick delivery. And at first it was because the delivery was so quick. Apparently when you go through the birth canal, you're squeezed. And as you go through, these fluids that are part of a baby come out. And they were like, look, she had a quick delivery. So, that fluidness you hear in her, that's just those fluids. So as time progressed, nothing changed. And she was diagnosed with acid reflux, which is common in babies. And as time progressed, that didn't go away. So we were recommended to go to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And he thought he saw this defect at the top of her esophagus trachea area. And then we were on this course to try to confirm. He initially thought it was this laryngeal cleft. So we were put on this course to confirm that. And she was diagnosed at CHOP with having this condition. There are 4 types of it. It may have changed, but at the time there were like 4 types of it. 1 and 2 are very common when you have this type of defect. And what it's based off of, your trachea is basically like rings as it goes up. And 1 and 2, it's the depth of the cleft. 3 is deeper than 1 and 2, is extremely rare. And then 4 goes all the way down and is fatal. So she was diagnosed with type 3. So it's not, oh God. So it's not like the news that you want to hear when you have a kid. So I can tell you what I was wearing that day. So anyway, so my wife, we're very upset. We looked at our options and, I went home and I did every ounce of research I could humanly do. And I found that there was a doctor in Boston Children's who was like the guy for this. So I ended up emailing him. We went back and forth. And he said, yeah, bring her up. CHOP as a whole for the type of cleft that she has had done, I think, like 6. The hospital as a whole. Our doctor in Boston, he himself has done 20. So it was kind of like a no-brainer as to what we were going to do. So it was January of 2000. We packed up the car and as Dropkick Murphy said, we shipped up to Boston. And there's 2 ways to go about this repair. There's a less invasive endoscopic procedure. They go down through the mouth, they laser the sides, they sew it to shut, and they pray to God it holds. Then there's a more invasive procedure where it's called an open procedure, where they actually make an incision in the neck. They take a piece of tissue that covers your bones from your leg. They go in, they sew it shut, they put the skin over it as a graft, and they basically rebuild that area. And it involves a trach tube, the whole 9 yards. And obviously that's something that we wanted to avoid. She, at the time, was being fed via a feeding tube. At first, it was through the nose and into the stomach. We had problems with that. Then it was through the nose into her intestine. So we go up to Boston. They do the first procedure. Our fingers are crossed. We come home, and she has a new feeding tube that goes in her stomach, branches out. One line goes to the intestine, one line goes in the stomach, and she is fed through the one that goes into the intestine. And that's kind of how we started this. And we went up to Boston. I came home. My wife and her name is Maddox did not. They stayed up there. Just some like complications and swelling. We got through that, and the procedure wasn't as successful as we hoped. And the doctor had said that he was going to do it in stages. So we kept going at it, and we would drive up. I'm not sure. We're from the Philadelphia area, so a drive to Boston is not as appealing and as exciting as one would think. As things progressed, we were optimistic, but the procedure just wasn't working. So it came, and this is over. She was diagnosed at early on in 2019. This is 2021. Now, obviously, we're in 2024. We've gotten to the point where the endoscopic procedure had failed, and we had no other option but doing the open procedure, which we've been trying to avoid. Up until that time, like the last endoscopic one she had was the end of the summer in 2023, and we gave it our all. So we would normally come home. She would run into some breathing issues. We'd end up down at DuPont, and she would be at DuPont for a couple weeks while they tried to get her stable. And there was a whole litany of things that happened in between. There was respiratory failure, CPR at home. I mean, you name it, we went through it. So when we did this last procedure, we gave it our all. And my wife and Maddox moved up there for about 4 or 5 weeks. They were in Boston, and we have an 8-year-old. She'll be 9 in July, or she's 7. I can't remember. I'm a dad. We don't have. But regardless, we have an older daughter, and so in August we would go up on the weekends, try to make the best of what we could, and then drive home. It wasn't a pleasant experience, but I did it because of my wife and my oldest daughter, and that was it. So that procedure failed, and here we are. We did the open procedure, and they were in Boston for just about 6 weeks. And once again, it was tough. So commuting back and forth, it's a pain. It's like a 5.5 hour drive. When we were looking to go up, there was a huge tanker explosion in Connecticut, and it shut down 95. Not that we use 95, but all the feeder roads, people would be on that. Traffic was going to be a nightmare. And we were looking at minimized time of all being together. So that's kind of how I came into Angel Flights.
Wow.
Okay,
I don't even know what to say. I know. That story, your story is just so extremely powerful. And from our side of things, a lot of people don't know we do compassion flights. So keeping families together like yours is just so incredibly important. And the fact that your wife and daughter, who is receiving the treatment, had to stay in Boston for 6 weeks while you had to be at home, still working and caring for your other daughter. And the fact that we could bring you all together rather than driving to Boston, which is a nightmare, we all know from Philadelphia. I just am so thankful that you're sharing your story and we were able to help you and continue to help you.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I keep telling people, Maddox is going to be fine. She's going to come out of this. I'm worried about my wife, my oldest daughter. the effects that it has on them, that's what I'm worried about. Maddox now, I mean, she has a trach tube. You'd have no clue. Nothing has stopped that kid. But the amount of stress that her mom and I are under is like insane. The care that goes into that. And you look at my daughter, and it's just like, wow. My older daughter, like, how do we navigate a normal life for her as much as possible? And how do we allow her to do what she needs to do, but also have another daughter that can't necessarily do everything? You know, it's not fair to my older daughter that she can't do something because, you know, Maddy can't participate in that, or she can't spend as much time with her mom because her mom's in Boston. So it was, how do we navigate this so that it's less impactful on everyone? And that has been my goal and my struggle. Like, my wife is focused on Maddy and her health, and that's what moms do. Me, I sit there and worry about everybody else and how we navigate that. And Angel Flight was huge in that. They turned a 5.5-hour drive into an hour and 45 minutes. Like, and it's not an hour and 45 minutes of staring at the inside of a plane. It's an hour and 45 minutes of seeing parts of the country that you don't see when you're driving to Boston. But overall, it's an hour and 45 minutes. I could do an hour and 45 minutes standing on my head. You know, a 5.5-hour drive and dealing with traffic and nothing against people in Massachusetts, but they drive very differently than people down here. You know,
you can say it. Yeah. They do.
There's nothing like going the speed limit when the guy in front of you in the left lane is doing 65 and the guy next to you is doing 64.5 for like an hour, you know? But like, that adds stress to it as well. So having the opportunity to just get in a plane, take an hour and 45 minutes, and you're there, was huge.
Are you also okay with us sharing what you do professionally for your such lack of stress job?
So I am in law enforcement, and in particular, I deal with child exploitation cases.
Yeah, right. Like, no problems. Just gonna go to work and have a calm day. Like,
yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Are you kidding me?
So work is actually a huge distraction. You know, like when I'm up in Boston, it's not like I'm thinking about work, but I'm like, I want to go back to work.
Yeah, well, because you can save that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's yeah. So I have that stress, and then I have this stress. It's, you know, everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's like that union with the dog.
Where the burning dog. Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of.
Everything's fine.
As everything is on fire behind him, I was like, that is exactly what my mind went to.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. But like I said, I mean, Maddy's going to be okay. She's going to be fine. There's kids that aren't. You know, like, you go into CHOP or Boston Children's, and you see kids, you see parents, and they're not going to come out as a family. And that hurts. You know, I'm not going through that. I am, but I'm not. I couldn't imagine dealing with that, dealing with the stress of, you have that situation and you're sending your kid to what you think is the best hospital in the world, and it takes you 7 hours to drive there. And, you know, you're leaving part of your family there because you still have to work. And, you know, like that, like, those people, they're heroes. Not me. Those people are. Your pilots are heroes because of what they're doing, how they're doing it. I don't think people really understand the impact. It's one less thing you have to worry about. That's huge. So, yeah. All right. I clearly have something in my eyes.
I know. Because you're sitting outside. There must be a lot of bugs back there.
The pollen is so high.
Yeah.
But
Jess,
yeah,
before you got on, Michael and I was opening a seltzer water. I was like, I promise it's water. And he was like, I thought about having a beer. And I was like, oh, I
We should have all done it. That would have been our first
oh my
podcast
God.
episode, cracking a beer. And
Yeah.
it's happy hour time. So, we would never say no.
yes,
told-
yes.
Yeah, no. And I feel like I have so many regrets of not having a beer with this
I
episode.
know.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. So tell us a little bit about your flights. You came from Wingsfield. You literally crossed the street. Did
Yes.
you drive to the parking lot?
We did. We did drive to the parking lot just because we had luggage. So it was our flight was for Maddox's birthday. So she turned 5 on May 5th, and that was a Sunday. My older daughter had like a swimming thing, and we didn't really want her to miss it. Like leaving Saturday after swimming would have been like a 5-hour plus drive, and then we're coming back Sunday. So our flight, we met the pilot at like 10. He came up from New Jersey. Literally, it was amazing. Like I said, the flight was at 10. We left the house at like 9:45. We drove right over. We parked. We met you guys. We got on the plane and we took off. It was awesome.
I think you flew with Frank Becker,
We did.
who is
Yep.
incredible. Yeah. He's such
Yeah.
a nice guy. They're all nice, but Frank was our pilot of the year a couple years ago, and he continues to just go above and beyond for people.
Yeah, he mentioned that. It was
Mhm.
it was smooth. I know a lot of people, including my wife, would never get in like a small private plane. Like, oh my God, it's going to be rough. It's going to be bumpy. It was smoother than driving in the car. It was great. My older daughter fell asleep. I talked to Frank the whole time. We talked about everything that you could talk about, planes and wealth of knowledge. And it was cool to just like have this conversation and look out the window and see parts of our drive that I would never normally see from a completely different angle.
Yeah, it's such a different experience going in general aviation. I feel like now that you've been general aviation, you're like, I don't really want to do other stuff.
Especially
It is-
since the airport's across the street. Nobody wants to travel to the Philadelphia airport with all the traffic and everything and going through TSA. It's just like, isn't there an easier way?
And that's the thing. Like a flight to Boston, I don't know, like let's say it's an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes on a big commercial jet, right? Well, you got to be there 2 hours before. You got to go through TSA. You're going to wait. You're going to land. I'm sure for a weekend trip, hopefully you just have carry-on luggage and you're in and out. But then on Sunday, you got to go do the whole thing all over again.
Also,
So
don't
really,
restrict the amount of shampoo you can bring.
for me, that's very big.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a whole added stress to that environment. Like me dragging a 7-year-old or 8-year-old. She's 8. She's 8. I'm confirming she's 8. Through an airport with just me and her getting on a plane. Is that a cool experience for her? Absolutely. For me, no, not at all. With what I do for a living, I'm surprised my kid is allowed out of the house, and I'm going to take her to a major airport. So yeah, I mean, and that's what I thought about. I thought about cool different ways of how can I make this cool for her. A car, we did that. It's not cool. I thought about taking her on a train. That would be neat, but it's the same amount of time. So something like this was awesome. It was a great experience for her and less stress for me.
Can you tell us how you heard about Angel Flight? Because I know our referral source will probably be listening and we want to give him a shout out.
So I have known about Angel Flight for a while. Mainly, obviously, because we're right across the street. You guys do a Wings and Wheels event at the end of the summer. We walk to it. We have a great time. Throughout this whole process, countless people have told us, you got to get with Angel Flights. You got to get with Angel Flights. So finally, I decided that, okay, this was going to be it. I'm going to do this. So we went to Angel Flights, and I reached out through the website, and ultimately a friend hooked us up, and that's kind of how it was. So I've always known about it. I never pulled the trigger because part of me is, with what I've seen in life, there's people that deserve it much more than I do. And I felt, I don't want to say bad, but I felt like there's people that need this more than I. So, I don't want to go to Angel Flights and take a flight from someone that, is needing it for medical care, or their kid is never coming out of the hospital or something like that. So I think I just didn't understand a lot of it. And then once I got flowing with it, I got the gist of it.
I just like internally face palmed when you said that because I'm like, just let us love you. Like,
Yeah.
like we're always, I feel like, just like, please use and abuse us. Like, let us help you get to where you need to go. And I feel like every time somebody says, like, oh yeah, I've heard of it, but I never thought that I was in need enough, or I didn't think that my situation was dire enough. I'm always like, call me, please.
We're desperate.
I know, and it's tough. I'm not the type that sits there and says, yeah, I need help. I've blazed this path, and I've done a lot of it on my own. Obviously, my wife is a rock, and has really, blazed the path before me. But, I don't want to pat myself on the back because I'm not that type of person by any means, but I'm the one that went out and found the doctor. I'm the one that spoke to the doctor. I'm the one that put all this in motion. So to sit here and be like, have a great organization like you guys be like, oh, hey, we'll fly you up. Like, there's people out there that need it more than me. And that was a tough hump to get over. And even now, like we had looked at doing another flight, Memorial Day weekend. And I still, like, I felt bad. Like, we just had one like a couple weeks ago, and like it's Memorial Day weekend. Like, it's not fair to a pilot that's got to take time away from his family or her family to fly us up. I'm like, it's not fair. So it was tough to get over. But talking to David, he was like, no, dude, you just call us. We'll do it. And I'm like, I get it, but it's still tough.
The pilots love to fly, and I think they'll find any excuse to fly, no matter what day, what holiday it is. They just want to fly their airplanes.
We literally had a pilot the other day who is literally asking David if he can fly on Father's Day. And he was like, I may get divorced over this, but do you have anything? So trust us, they're willing to go.
I understand that, but still there's that always, I've done a lot in my life on my own. So it's tough. It's not a control thing, by any means. It's just tough accepting that, hands down. And I get that pilot that wants to fly on Father's Day, that's amazing. But me not having that time with, like, my wife missed Mother's Day. She was in Boston. It's not the Mother's Day that she wanted, and it's not fair to her. So for me, Father's Day, there better not be a thing because it's not fair to her. So that's me. So I get that pilot is all excited about it, but it would be tough. It would be very tough. And I think that's a hurdle that I have to get over.
We get it. But
Well,
if
you
like
are, yeah, let us know.
Yeah,
We'll
we
give
do.
you one.
yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But your story is so inspirational, and you are definitely one of the strongest people we've talked to, because I don't think, well, I know Maddy and I definitely would not be able to handle the amount of stress you're under and just tell your story so beautifully.
That's what I was just gonna say. I don't think I could handle like you asking me that question. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
Yeah.
I'd be a puddle at 24/7.
I'm not strong. My daughter is the strongest person I know. Both my daughters. You have one that's dealing with a medical situation. You have another one that's dealing with the same situation. For 8 going on 9, she is extremely mature. And that is something that they're the strongest people. I'm not strong. It's them, hands down. My wife as well. They're the foundation and the rock of this family. I'm just there to make sure nobody messes with.
I don't want to cry right now. I didn't open a beer yet.
I tell people I picture it. There's a picture that always sticks in my mind of a lioness sitting there staring at whatever the photographer, because he's taking the picture. Right behind her is the lion, And I'll tell you what, a lioness will destroy you just as much as the lion. And that's my wife, 100%. And that's me standing behind her, because God forbid she starts to lose, then you're going to have to deal with me. And like I said, that she is the strongest person, and so are my daughters. So I'm not strong. So I got to disagree with you guys on that.
All right, well, we'll let you have
Fine,
it.
Michael.
But
Yeah.
we can go have our moment of sweaty eyes. What is one final thought that you want to share with our listeners?
Don't be afraid to just accept help. You guys are there. You guys are a great organization. Everyone that I've dealt with and talked to has been awesome, and not a single person have I ever gotten a feeling of judgment from. And that's, that's what I worry. I worry about that with my daughter, that somebody's going to look at her because she has a trach tube and a feeding tube, and they're going to look at her differently. So don't be afraid. Just do it. It's an awesome experience. It's quick. It's easy, no matter where you got to go. You're not flying into, in our case, Logan International Airport. You're flying into a regional airport like Wings, but slightly bigger, depending on where you go. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It helps. So just do it. In the words of Nike, just do it.
Wow.
I love that. Thank you so much, Michael. You
Yes,
are amazing.
absolutely.
And
Nope.
shout out to
No.
the rest of the Henricks family. You guys are also amazing, and we cannot wait to meet you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
See you in September.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I have no words after Michael.
I know.
For
We were
those,
just saying, I think that was our best. Well, they're all really good episodes, but that just told the story of compassion flights better than I think we could ever tell it again.
yeah. Like, for those who are just listening and not like actually like looking at us, I don't think my hands have left my face, or my face has left my hands that whole time, just because like my brain can't fully comprehend every single thing that family has gone through. And that he's just like, yeah, this is like, he's emotional, of course, like who wouldn't be? But he's just like, this is what we're dealt with, and this is what we're gonna get through. I'm like, what? If I'm inconvenienced once, I have a melty.
I just cry.
What?
And just the fact he is always so concerned about his older daughter and making it everything a good experience for her. I was like, I wish all men were like you. Let's just clone him.
Right? I'm like, my dad is getting a copy of this episode, sir. I need you to hear.
But that was amazing. And he's right in our backyard. I can't believe it. We should have done the episode live from our office. Yeah, with a lot of beers, because I feel like we all need it.
Holy guacamole. All right, y'all. Well, it was so good being back with you guys today. And we'll be back again in another like week and a half. I don't know. Jess and I are talking about changing the schedule, so we'll figure it out and we'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted. You know we will.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
That's it for today's episode of Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East. If you want to learn more about our services, please visit our website at www.angelflighteast.org or call our office at 215-358-1900. Join us in our mission. If you're a healthcare worker or a patient in need of air travel and flight services, AFE is here for you. Subscribe to the show so you can hear more stories. Join us again next week right here on Takeoff Talk.